Do I take this? We're bringing the tape. Oh, tape. We get the tape. Wow. That's going great so far. I don't know what I'm doing. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Michael Clasterin. Thank you. Thank you. Please sit down, please. You're embarrassing him now. We have to start the Q&A. Can I sing a song first? Can I just sing a song? Can I sing a song? He's amazing. Hello, folks. Here we go. Howdy, hey, hi there. Start the show. We've been in movies, been on TV, and that makes us celebrities. Tom Wilson and Christopher Lloyd. We are very important. Excitement crackling through the air. Lose your worries, forget your cares. You people in back should be sitting up here because sometimes I spit when I sing. I'm not done. And you can sell it on eBay. Hey, showbiz is our life, my friend. We know just what to do. We're guys you've seen on TV, and face it, people on TV aren't better than you. People on TV are just better than you. Kim Kardashian, Jay-Z, Donald Trump, and us, yeah. I've survived in showbiz, we paid our dues. You gotta give me credit, you can't refuse. I know a guy who knows Tom Cruise. Yes, I'm that connected. But I'm not in Scientology. Hey, back freaks and geeks. I was in that movie called The Heat. My resume's longer than 50 feet, but not as impressive as his. You might think you don't like me. You think I'm on an ego trip. Hey, well, I don't care, cause I'm famous, and that's more important than relationships. Fame is more important than relationships. Tom Wilson, he's kind of famous. He has lost all of his friends. Big whoop. Tonight's gonna be the best. A showbiz party, a big success. Just lower your standards, start expecting less, and let those lowered expectations start with me. I have asthma, yeah. I just wrote it, I was goofing off, sorry. We can begin the serious, with what I really think of cinema.
Do I follow that? Would you talk about your raison d'etre, Tom?
Yes, I have a lot of raisons for d'etre-ing. A couple of English majors.
Well, I think we'd like to talk a little bit about Back to the Future. So let's go, pardon the expression, back to the very beginning. One of the last people cast in the film was you, Tom. There was a search that went on for Biff for some time, and you were, as I've been told, discovered auditioning for another role. Am I wrong?
Well, like so many things surrounding the Back to the Future franchise, you're entirely wrong. I thought that the role of Biff, I had been in, the facts of life, disgruntled jock. I introduced biscuits in a national KFC commercial. Yeah, you're welcome, that was me. I brought you biscuits, people, you're welcome. Yeah, sure, I'll act it out. Fresh buttermilk biscuits made from scratch, blink. So I didn't think, when I was auditioning for it, I thought that there was going to, they would get some big star to play Biff. I thought it would go to the big stars, Judge Reinhold, Andrew McCarthy, biggies, So I was auditioning
for Biff with the hopes of being cast as one of Biff's gang members. Because I thought, well, I'm not going to get that role because it's a big role, but maybe, you know, I'll do a good job and they'll put me in the gang and then I'll be in a movie. And that's what you wanted. Certainly, it's still the same, but there was a great cachet to being an actor in movies and not, you know, selling biscuits in commercials. Though I was good. So, we'll talk to Chris very soon. I'll make it very brief, but I ought...
No. You're saving me. You're saving me.
Okay, good. Because I've created a dance about it. Then... so I auditioned. So my agent at the time really got me into the casting director to audition for Biff. You have to see this guy. This actually happened. I go in, very young man, relatively new to Hollywood, to the industry, and the casting director says, I walk in, she says, well, you're supposed to be God's gift to acting, so that's it. And then I read it, I read the scene. They had written a specific scene with a lot of different, you know, Biff stuff in it. So I read the scene, she says, let me get Mike in here. The big casting director comes in, and that began the process of coming back, I think 7 times for callbacks. Then they started calling me back and putting on age makeup to see what I would act like aged, and all of those things. And finally, the last night, they said they want to see you one more time. Steven Spielberg wants to see you with Lou Wasserman and Sid Sheinberg, the heads of the studio, and Robert Zemeckis and all this stuff. And at 6:30 that night, and I had Bruce Springsteen tickets. I did. So I said, well, 6:30 at night. So I'm trying to make it short. I auditioned, I read, you know, we go in there, oak table, big conference room. That was, I mean, Steven Spielberg there. I read through the scene with Crispin Glover. Crispin and I were paired together the entire audition process. So I read the scene, Robert Zemeckis says, Tom, I really want you to see you get physical with him. I want you to see you really get into these characters. And, okay, and there are those times in an audition where you just, well, I'll just go for it. We'll just see what happens, and I don't know what, we'll just go. And I pulled that kid across the table. I was beating him senseless. I lifted him into the air with his shirt. I'm like, come on, McFly. But in the middle of all this physicality, I completely forget what I'm doing in the scene. I forget all the lines of the scene, and I end up with Crispin, like, you know, aloft in the air. Just, I don't remember what to say now. And I literally, like, put him down on the ground and just went like, that's what I have prepared.
And scene.
And scene, right. And they said, thanks so much, Tom. Thanks for coming in. Thanks a lot. Hey, Crispin, would you stay here? Yeah, Tom, thank you.
Oh, come on, it worked out.
It worked out. It worked out, but that was the worst Springsteen concert I've ever been to. The whole place, dancing in the dark. I was up in section Q. Just wrecked my career. The next morning they said I got it.
Okay, well, and while Tom was just, you know, throwing himself all over the place, Chris got a script, and you weren't particularly thrilled about it. So what happened there?
I hope you've got a dance.
Okay. I've told this story before, and maybe some of you have heard it before. I will try to make it as interesting as the first time. Well, I was doing a film, a little low-budget thing in Mexico City, and my agent sends me a script, Back to the Future, and I read it, and I didn't quite know what to make of it. I wasn't very interested, really, because I was going to New York to do a play. I'd been away from the city for a while, and I thought I should go back to my roots, which was the theater. That's where I began, and spent a lot of time doing that before I came to LA. So I was all in my mind doing that, and I had a great part, Hans Christian Andersen. If that rings a bell, I don't know. And so I was all excited about that. And then I get this script for Back to the Future, and I kind of, you know, and I dumped it in a waste paper basket. Not a great career move, but that's what I did. And a friend of you, by the astonishment on your face, you haven't heard this story.
Acting!
Just testing. Just testing. So, where was I then? A friend of mine was there, a lady friend that I brought down with me from LA, and she said that I had a motto that I never overlooked any possibility when I lived in New York. I mean, if it was raining, storming, and there was like a cameo, a little play off Broadway, I would get my ass there just in case it worked out, you know. So I had to agree with her saying that, you know, maybe I should really take a look at it. So I took a look at it. I came back to LA. I met and sat down with Bob Zemeckis, and I left a total 100% on board. Now, you know, that's my story. It was not nearly as entertaining and unpredictable and spontaneous as this gentleman's opening song and remarks.
He's the goofball, man. Get over it. I don't know.
No, this guy is great. This guy is fabulous.
Thank you, my friend.
It is work, but also as a human being.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
It means the world to me, as you know. I love the guy. It is magnificent. It was such a thrill for me to study acting in New York, to do theater, to do all of these things, and have great respect for that art form. And you know, of course, you become a professional actor, and you do, and I make fun of it, but you don't really see yourself doing a biscuit commercial or just playing these things. So, what a thing to get cast in a film, and we had 2 weeks of rehearsals before we actually even began the film, to have lunch over at Amblin Entertainment, Steven Spielberg's company, and actually meet each other, work the scenes a little bit. It was, for a young actor like myself, it was so exciting to work with someone like you, to work with a bunch of actors really paying attention to the craft. Because I'll do my Chris commercial, and you've heard this, but I must tell you that it's a very, you know, okay, I'm talking about you now, so you can cover your ears or sing la la la. As we all know, Chris is an easy caricature, you know, an easy caricature, an easy impression. Okay? The guy who goes, oh, I'm in trouble, you know, whatever. To simplify, you know, you simplify it into one little line. But really, the next time you're watching these movies, I want you to look at this performance and see the nuance of it, the brilliance of it, the fact that he has so much exposition to work with, that he's a scientist, that he cares about this kid, that he loves the kid, he's trying to help the kid. It is, you know, it has become you know, a thing that people like to do, but you have to examine it and see the great sophistication of an actor at the top of his game.
I love you, man.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, brother.
All right, so both of you finally worked things out, and you're in the movie, and then they bring in Marty, and I'm sure maybe some of you have heard that there was a Marty before Michael J. Fox, and his name was Eric Stoltz, and I'm going to preface this by saying Eric is a fine actor, talented director, top-notch, but there were some problems. He wasn't quite the Marty that people were looking for. Let's talk about, now, he had a sort of method actor thing going on, Tom, and you had a situation with him where he sort of...
Well, as I've said, look, every actor has their method. You know, there is a method, but everyone is going to figure out their method, what works for them. And that's fine. You know, look, I don't care if you want to ride an ostrich to the set, okay? When the camera's on, that, you know, the proof is in the pudding. You have to act the scene when it's time to act the scene, and that's fine. But sometimes, playing a character like Biff, it is difficult if someone has a method that is really in competition with my method, which as an actor is not a method which helps me believe that I am a bully and want to beat everyone up and have evil intent, you know? Because I was bullied when I was in school. I had asthma. I missed 2 years of my 4 years of high school. I was in and out of the hospital. I got pushed around by bullies all the time. I didn't like them. I didn't find anything entertaining about them. And when I auditioned for this, I didn't find anything entertaining about it. So when I was being treated like that as an actor on the set, and actually truly physically manhandled, Big Daddy didn't care for that at all. So what I have found, and you know, it's an easy joke to play, but you know, when you're a guy my size, if you want to have a method and improvise where you really want to try to beat me up, I'll improvise my own method and show you that you can only beat me up because it says that you can beat me up, and we get snacks after we pretend that happens. So yeah, there were, you know, yeah, I don't like to, you know, call guys by their character's name. I don't like to pretend that I hate them. I don't like any of that stuff. And I think eventually, I'll do it for a while. But eventually, if it runs into a problem with how I prepare and what I'm doing, then of course it's a problem. Because we're two professionals. And if I respect your method, then you must respect my method as well. And that's the only thing I say about it. So if we come into you know, an intersection of those methods and have a problem, let's talk about it. Let's not just kind of get all physical and see what happens. Because if you want to get physical with me, man, we can see what happens. Does that make sense?
Very much so. But while you were creating your process and your character, you added a lot of the Biff character in pieces of dialogue. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Biff had, I won't say it because of the young people, but Biff had a worse language than he actually has in the movie because I was saying, what are you looking at? Something else. You know, I was saying, why don't you make like a tree and leave? And I said, this guy is actually dumber than that. You know, just having this, what are you looking at? You know what? Why doesn't he call people like, and this didn't exist in the lexicon at that time. I just tried to think of some stupid word that you would make up to call people. So I made up butthead. So that made it all the more, you know, what are you looking at, butthead? Right. And I said, he has to get the stuff wrong. He's too stupid, you know? Why don't you make like a tree and get out of here? All that stuff. And even with the Mad Dog, then it went throughout the movie. I'm gonna hunt you and shoot you down like a duck. So we added all that kind of stuff. In a makeup test, they were just testing the age makeup for Crispin and I, acting like, they just do a little stuff, oh, so McFly, what are you, McFly, what's that? What are you, an Irish bug? And they saw the makeup test, and the next I get revisions in the script, hey McFly, you Irish bug. Oh. So it was fun to be able to do that stuff.
Okay, so while you were creating new dialogue, Chris had a mountain of dialogue to get through. I think if you go word for word on any character in the movie, Chris probably had the most to say. So Chris, you went through pages and pages of scientific explanation and theory. And how do you get that? What's your process to?
I have nothing to say.
It's that deep, folks. It's that deep. The words would actually sound like gibberish.
What was the question?
About being able to accommodate all of that dialogue in your head and bringing it out in the performance.
I'm a slow learner. There's some actors who have very quick retention. They read a script once and it's in their heads or whatever. I have to go over and over and over and over it before it really sets in. So with Back to the Future, I developed a pattern where I would try to know the next week's lines the week before, and I try to keep myself going in that way. And I remember Back to the Future, now you're looking angry at me. So sensitive. In Back to the Future 3, near the beginning of the film, they had a day where there was an accident. It wasn't a scene I was in, but it was something to do with the clock tower and people riding, all that. And there was an accident. So somebody got injured. So the shooting schedule was immediately changed to adjust to the problem, which meant you didn't know sometimes until the day before what scenes were going to be called for the next day. And I was terrified because,
That's the biggest nightmare, isn't it?
It is.
You sort of have the script and you're keeping track. And we have this scene on Wednesday, and I'm doing that big thing on Friday. So you're sort of keeping this memorization, like, okay, this one's at bat, here this scene's in the on-deck circle, this scene's in the dugout, but it's on its way up, it's getting a batting helmet, so you're thinking, and it's every actor's nightmare that, next Wednesday, I have this big speech or something, this big scene, and they just say, it's raining, we're doing that scene right now.
I'll pick it up from there.
Thank you. I just had to sit down and burn the oil every night and learn the rest of the movie, so that no matter what. So, like that. If you watch it, it's a very intricate movie. It's time travel with parallel universes, all kinds of stuff. Again, next time you watch the movie, what other movie has to actually take a break where this guy has to build an entire model and a blackboard in order to tell the audience, okay, just to remind you what's happening. He's going to go here. This is the parallel universe that goes over there. That was a lot of words to learn, and a lot of, they call it laying pipe. You're giving exposition for the movie and everything. And fortunately, that was his job.
I got to say that Bob Gale, the writer, wrote those speeches and wrote so well that you could make them organic and like something that had to be said rather than just information, so.
And I think, we only have a limited amount of time and 3 movies to get through, so I want to jump back.
I've hardly said anything.
Well, I'm trying to get there. We went through 2 movies, Back to the Futures 1 and 2, before the 2 of you ever met on screen.
Yes, we used to say that there should be a scene where Doc Brown and Biff actually meet in the waiting room of a psychiatrist's office.
Yeah.
All right, that's one more word.
I just had a flashback.
Tom, was it something you eagerly anticipated, being able to work with Chris on screen?
Careful.
It was my favorite part of the movie. It's one of my favorite scenes of the movie. And I'm not saying this like, oh, Tom was selfless that day, but my scene was finished a long time before, hours before they actually got to Chris talking to Mad Dog with the gun on his shoulder. And they said, Tom, we're not going to be able to get to that for hours and hours. So why don't you just go and we'll have Chris, do it with someone else and everything, and and give up the opportunity to actually act in that scene with him. So there are pictures of me, instead of riding a horse, I was on top of a ladder. I was sitting on top of a ladder so he would be able to look up at me. And I'm just wearing a t-shirt or something, and and they took pictures of me going, I was just into it, man. I loved it. It was great. It was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. No, you better be watching your back. I mean, that was, who doesn't, come on, guys out there, who doesn't want to wear spurs and walk into a saloon and just, ching, ching, ching. There we fly, just that's, and everyone, and all the tables, and oh my God, he's here, hide behind something, just be standing there. That was pretty cool.
Well, speaking of horses, each of you had your own different experience. Chris, you were already an experienced horse person, and you had plenty of time to actually practice that. And did you enjoy being that, or?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed it particularly as a scene where I'm chasing the train and galloping alongside. And I remember I was wearing a Western hat, and there was one take where the hat blew off, and the cowboy wrangler, I said, cowboys don't lose their hats. And he gave it back to me.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, because they had a reset with the train and everything.
Oh, sure. Oh, the train. Yeah, reset, bring the train back. Yeah.
But I learned quickly, be professional. So anyway, so I was racing along with the train, and Doc, when he's close enough, he grabs the handle on the train and pulls himself up onto the train. And they didn't want me to do that. A stunt guy did it. And, but I was right alongside. I
could have grabbed
right
it right
there.
there.
Oh, I wanted to do it. But, it might not have worked out.
And Tom, on the other end of that, you're a guy from Philadelphia?
Yes, I was born and raised in Philadelphia, so I'm good at riding subways. I rode a horse, you know, when I was 7 years old, and a guy pulls it around, and you go, pew, pew, cowboys, like that. But I hadn't ridden, so what a thrill to be doing a big budget Western at a time when they weren't making a Western like that. And had to, you know, the guys come up to me and they say, well, Tom, you know, you're going to have to learn how to quick draw a gun and how to ride a horse. And what a thrill. I mean, I learned, Corky Randall was the wrangler of the animals there. Corky worked with John Wayne. He worked in John Ford movies, the old Westerns. He taught the director John Ford how to ride a horse, and he taught me how to ride a horse. I was just so thrilled, I couldn't believe it, you know? Now, Chris knows Arvo Ojala, a historic, quick draw gun expert. He was on Gunsmoke, every Western. He's the quick draw guy, doing the spinning and everything. I learned from him. The man was, you know, he was 80 at least, 83, I don't know, but he was the slowest, fastest gun in the West. Because he walked to the set like this. Oh, good morning, everybody. How are you today? Now, Tom, when you think about drawing you want your And Arvo could shoot a single action pistol, which is a click, click, bang with your thumb. And he could do it 3 times, and it sounded like one bang. He would draw it and go click, click, bang, and then do it with his thumb, click, click, bang, and with his pinky, click, click, bang. So he just, watch this, I can do 3. Look, I shot 3 bullets. I'm going to have some fruit. So, but what a guy. I mean, a historic guy. So, it was a great thrill for me. I mean, it was unbelievable to be, you know, part of a Western like that, working with Chris, working with these stunt guys. I mean, Ben Scott, who did my riding was okay. And at the end of the last shot I did in the movie was on horseback, and the horse kind of skidded a little bit and got a little funky, you know, and so the horse goes this way, jumps over this creek that we were next to, kind of rears up, and I'm hanging on, and finally the horse calms down, and Corky walks in, well, looks like you can finally ride a horse. The last day, so.
Also, just in the bar scene in Back to the Future 3, I have my first drink or whatever and all that, and it's got a lot of extras around, sitting around the tables. And there's one table where Zemeckis got 3 famous character actors from that were famous during the Western films. That was so popular.
Harry Carey Jr. And Dub Taylor. And Pat Buttram. Now, if you saw them, you'd recognize that, oh, that guy from a million Westerns.
And you know their voices if you heard them, because they each had a distinctive kind of drawl.
And Pat Buttram would talk kind of like this here thing. You know, I'm not... Bob Zemeckis, before the movie, he had me watch, and this is before DVDs, before any, you know, he said, I want you to go to the screening room and watch The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. And he says, I want you to watch Lee Marvin in that movie. And that kind of, that real menace, that real serious menace is what we're looking for. So I watched that movie and I studied Lee Marvin and everything. And one of the greatest, really, compliment in all 3 movies is those older guys. They call, Tom, can we talk to you for a second? You know, and Pat Buttram and Harry Carey Jr. and Dub Taylor says, we all been talking about it, and you know, you kind of remind us of Lee Marvin. Yes! Oh yeah, it was just, yes, what a thrill. If you haven't seen that movie, Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, wow, it's a great movie. And it's like and Lee Marvin in that one, or Jack Palance in Shane, those bad guys. Wow. Yeah, in Shane, remember that performance? He's like in the back of the saloon, and it's black and white movies, and he's just in shadows. And you just see like the position, and he's like, whoa, we're in trouble.
Okay, we could go on like this for a long time. A lot of questions, but...
Who's the next one? Push them back.
Well, that's good for me, but...
Just kidding, we gotta go, sorry.
It's time that we gave the audience a chance to ask a few questions, but before we do that, I was wondering if you could get a little jump on it by answering a couple of questions beforehand.
When I'm flying in a plane or I'm on the street, there's a lot of friendly people that I like to meet. They shake my hand and never ask my name, but they start asking questions that are always the same. Hey, what's Michael J. Fox like? He's nice. What's Christopher Lloyd like? What's Christopher Lloyd like? Unusual. Stop asking me the question. I went to the bar mitzvah of my nephew Josh. Now I'm not Jewish, but I like to nosh. I put on my yarmulke, started to pray, when the rabbi leaned over and I heard him say, hey, was that real manure? No, it wasn't. How was that DeLorean? A piece of garbage. Do those hoverboards really fly? It's a movie. Stop asking me the question. Can we take your picture? Come on, look mean. Would you call my friend a butthead on his answering machine? No. Questions fill my head. I went to my doctor said, what does a key grip do? Set up lights. What does the best boy do? Help the key grip. What does a producer do? I don't know. Stop asking me the question. Do you all hang out together? No, we don't, except for now. How's Crispin Glover? Never talked to him. Back to the Future 4. Not happening. Stop asking me the question. Hey, who's the nicest famous guy you know? Matt Damon. Who is the biggest jerk? Gary Busey. How much money do you make? More than you do. Stop asking me the question. All right, let's just ask.
Okay.
God bless Jerry Lewis.
So, any of the questions that Tom covered in that delightful song, they're out.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Let's start with you, young man.
I remember it vividly. I was standing on the edge of my toilet, hanging a clock. The porcelain was wet. I slipped, hit my head on the sink. When I came to, I had a revelation, a vision, a picture in my head, a picture of this. This is what makes time travel possible. The flux capacitor. Sorry, I'm a butthead for doing that, but the question for you is...
He does it better than you.
I agree. My question is, I know you guys have worked with a lot of directors. Robert Zemeckis is one of my favorites. What was your relationship like with him, both of you, working?
He's great. He has a head that can get around all kinds of technical stuff with cameras, lighting, the latest gadgetry, computer. You know, he just swallows that whole. And he has a real feeling for how to talk to actors, to help them achieve what he's looking for. I mean, he knows how to talk to actors. Some directors, like, I remember Milos Forman, who directed One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he didn't talk, come up and talk. Over there! No! Listen, no! Stupid! He didn't know how to really, that's not fair because he did, but he didn't have the ease with which to say, try this, try that, and this, you know. So he was great on, and he loves what he does. He has such enthusiasm, and he just, you know, imparts it to everybody.
This is, yeah, I agree. The intellect is amazing because he went to USC Film School and knew how every machine on the set worked, as Chris said. He knew how everything worked, but that's not enough. As Chris said, eventually you have people in a story that you're telling. So you have to be able to communicate to them what you're trying to get out of this scene. You know, what kind of thing you would like to see. So he was great at that skill as well. But the intellect was, look, this is back, hey, you kids with your computers. He was running a flatbed, which is a giant thing with reels on it that you would physically cut the film. And you would physically cut the sound. Now, usually that goes to an editor and everything. While we were shooting Back to the Future, the third Back to the Future, we're on the Western set. We have a set that's going, horses are going this way, a stagecoach is coming this way, he's coming in here. In the breaks, there were 2 flatbeds entirely working. One was physically editing the film that we had shot previously on Back to the Future 3. The other one was shooting film that was for the television commercials and the promo stuff for Back to the Future 2. So he had, in his brain, he has 3 movies going. What he's doing on this machine, what he's doing on this machine, both very intricate, and what he's directing during the movie, which is why in the pros, you know, you get free snacks and like a nice jersey for the Red Sox or whatever. You know, you have to, you have in that instance, you got to have a 97-mile-an-hour fastball, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Lacey Alimafi. So my question is, there's been a recent cartoon that's been circulating around for quite a couple years now. And it's called Rick and Morty, and I was wondering if you guys have heard about it, because it's a parody based off of Back to the Future, so.
That's, what's the name of it?
Rick and Morty.
Yes, I know of it. I've seen only very little of it, but I've seen the 2 characters, and I have to confess I have not really watched it, and I have to, and I'll, next time we see each other,
Yes, I've heard of the show, but they haven't called me to be on it, so whatever.
Their mistake.
I'm going to write Rick and Morty.
And I mean that in the nicest possible way. When I make the writers and producers of that show like this.
It's like Doc and Marty.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, dear. Appreciate it.
Hello, Christopher. Hello, Thomas.
Hi.
How are you 2 doing today?
Fine, thank you, sir.
And thank you for the question.
So, Back to the Future 2, I'm sure a lot of people know that there were a lot of predictions that actually came true, and a little that were sort of off the mark. So I'm just curious, if you could choose only one prediction out of Back to the Future 2 to come true, what would it be and why?
Go ahead, my friend.
Thank you. Well, it would be great to see the Cubs win. I don't know.
I'm just glad that Mayor Goldie Wilson makes it. That's what I'm glad about.
And also,
he has my vote.
You call them these things, the board?
Hoverboards.
Thank you, the hoverboard.
Yes.
Someday maybe there'll be actual hoverboards.
I think, you know, I think everyone would go to flying cars, right? But good luck. There'd just be traffic jams in the sky. Move, it's just a cloud. You can drive through it. Come on, lady.
And with that, I'm sorry to say that we're going to have to wrap it up. So please, let's all thank Tom Wilson.
can we show your socks? This is a big deal. If you guys seen his socks, we know how much we love socks here. Check these bad boys out. There you go. Your sock foo is strong.